beginning off with this video, I want to make something very clear and very plain. And that is, I am not anti-Semitic. I absolutely adore the cultures that I have seen amongst the many various groups of Jewish people around the world. And I respect their faith and their true practice of the Judaism and Hebrew teachings of the Torah that's inspired by the Holy Spirit. Because there are two groups. There's one group that teaches the Torah as what Jesus Christ learned. And then there's other groups that are out there that are distorting the truth. Just like there's groups out there that are teaching the true Christian faith, and there are those that are out there distorting the Christian faith. So let me make that disclaimer there. But what I have to say is very impactful. And I think that many of us have been asleep. And I'm even going to add myself into that. You know, I knew of these things years ago. Okay, and I've been making videos about this. One of my videos that I made in here is the Baal administration, BAAL. I keep telling you all about that video. Please go back and read and review that video, and also review the other videos in regards to Jared Kushner and who I think he is possibly their Messiah or Meshua. Please look at those and review those, and of course do your own research. But this video is going to expound on who Benjamin Netanyahu truly is. Benjamin Netanyahu's master plan. This master plan has been going on since before his time. Many of you do not know, but Netanyahu's father was also a government representative in Israel. He too was born in Europe, and Netanyahu was born in Poland. And years ago, when both President Roosevelt and Taft were in office, Netanyahu's father approached him. He was a lobbyist. He approached him on behalf of Israel to create ties similar to the ties of today, and also similarly based off of the same financial backings of the AIPAC that we know of today. He was doing the same thing back then. So Benjamin Netanyahu has not just gotten into this within the last few decades. No, he's been in this for well over many decades. Okay, almost 100 years now. It's like so much of a connection. And I did a recent video in where I titled it that Netanyahu wants this throne. And this throne, I meant by saying America. See, there's more. See, he's just a prime minister in Israel. He's not a president. There's more control in the realm of the United States to help expand what his plans are. There's two plans, master plans for Netanyahu that he must accomplish. One that he promised to the late Rabbi Bibi, and one that he has promised to particular individuals within his organization there in this so-called upcoming Greater Israel. And that is to hurry and hasten the Messiah to come. And the second is to expand Israel by annihilating its surrounding territories, the ones that they consider their enemies, like Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, and now we're finding out Venezuela too. So there are a lot of things that Benjamin Netanyahu has done, and very creepy. And actually, I'm going to go even more deeper into some information that I found out about in regards to 9/11. This next video that I'm about to play is going to give you some back history during current times, during a current debate that occurred at the most recent Turning Point USA conference. And it's going to give you a good backstory on why you need to look at Benjamin Netanyahu and certain individuals out of the Israeli regime, because there's a two-part system there. Netanyahu doesn't represent Israel. He's only a prime minister. They have a president. And many, even in the religious sect, do not accept him. They consider him to be an abomination and to be someone that is a hypocrite when it comes to the Judaism faith. I got to give We Woke TV. I think they consider themselves woke right. I have to give them credit because it's their video and part of Candace. Candace also did part of this video that they highlighted within their video. And you're going to hear something that you may not know about, but we're going to get even deeper into it.
Speech, truth, as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today. That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack.
And I'm in total agreement with this young man. He is stating correctly, like, this is not irrelevant, even if it happened decades ago, just like the Holocaust happened decades ago. However, it's still very relevant in many things that occur today. So yeah, this attack that happened during the 6-Day War between Israel on an American Navy ship, where 34 American soldiers lost their life. Some of the reports that were gathered said it was a mistake that occurred between the time of 8 to 10 minutes. The final report and also the witnesses on board that were able to survive, they said that this was over in a 2-hour attack, okay, during the 6-Day War. You'll hear more.
People who frequently cite the USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
If the truth matters, then the Israeli government must be held accountable for that attack. The American flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So,
I'm alive from the USS Liberty. I served on that ship in 1967 when it was attacked by the Israelis, supposedly by accident. In neutral waters off the Sinai Peninsula. 34 of my crewmen were killed and 171 wounded. It's now 50 years later. I'm still alive, and it's Memorial Day, and I always think about the men who died, and I still see some of the crewmen. We were attacked by Mirage jets. They strafed us and dropped napalm, and there was 4 torpedo boats, Israeli torpedo boats, circling us, and they fired 5 torpedoes total. 1 hit. We had a hole in the side of the ship, 50 feet by 30 feet roughly. We had, for weapons on our ship, 50 caliber machine guns, 2 forward and 2 midship. All the men in those gun mounts were killed. and the torpedo hit in the communication spaces, and many men died wounded from there, supposedly by an accident. I don't believe it was an accident. We intercepted a lot of messages that Israel had sent, and some that were highly classified at the time, and were sent further to our government, who in turn acted or didn't act on what we said. And I know the Israelis, this is my opinion, planned the attack on us, and they know it too, and I believe our government knows it too. So if anybody wants to do anything about it, you know right where I live. And
Donald Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago, according to White House official. There it is, that's his blog. He said, President Donald Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago and joined Chabad Lubavitch Synagogue in New York City, according to a high-level White House official. Mr. Goldberg says the story has allegedly been held by CNN's editors for months, but is due to be released.
Again, I have to intercept here. So this is not something that is that recent. If you go back and you read within his autobiography, way back in 2002, President Trump started another version of Judaism, which is called Kabbalism. He was studying under Kabbalah and Kabbalah. And so that was back in 2002, maybe even earlier, because he talked about it in his autobiography, where the pressure was surmounting on him to learn about this faith. And if you know anything about Kabbalism, it has a lot to deal with esotericism, mysticism, a lot of magic in there. Things that, again, as I stated in the beginning of this video, that are not of the Torah. That's not the correct teaching of the Torah. That's something that is outside of it. Okay, just like people try to teach you things outside of the true Christian gospel, you have people that will teach you outside of the Jewish faith different paths of Judaism, and Kabbalah is one of them.
Within the next few days. David Elias Goldberg, a fellow at the Jewish Center of Anti-Semitic Study, has also interviewed the White House source. According to the source, Trump was pushed by his daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner to join the faith. At first, Trump resisted, stating it would threaten his base of evangelical Christian voters. However, he had a change of heart and officially converted in early 2017. The ceremony was held in private and closely guarded for nearly 2 years. It appears the White House is prepared to slowly release this information, and by summer, it is expected Trump will fully address his new faith in an evening televised news conference. He is clearly the most pro-Israel president in the history of America. He's given Israel every single thing that they've wanted, and he's about to give them war with Iran. Okay. And so, has he converted? So, I want to show you one more article. This is, let me see if I can.
This is Times of Israel.
Yeah, the Times of Israel. This was published March 22nd, 2019. This is the Times of Israel. Trump, the first Jewish president of the United States.
Now, that's not us saying that. That's Times of Israel. Times of what nation? Israel.
So the people in Israel, that's an English-speaking newspaper in Israel, and that's what they read, that Donald Trump is the first Jewish president of the United States.
And how did they qualify that, Rick?
They gave a list of things that he did for Israel.
First of one, of course, moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
That's right.
That was a big deal.
Let's just, what if it's true? What if it's true? What does that say to you, Doc?
That says to me there's been such a major shift in values in America. It's no longer Judeo-Christian values anymore. It's Judeo values now.
I want to make something perfectly clear. I do not like AIPAC. I don't like it because it tries to tell the President of the United States what to do.
Explain something about what is called the Jewish lobby in this country. Their belief is that being for Israel first, that does not mean you're putting America second. An American president, however, has to approach it in a different way, in my opinion. He's got always to think first of what is best for America. An American president must make a decision that does not, in effect, give the Israelis a blank check. And one example of that is a decision that I made. I decided early on in our administration that we were going to seek good relations with Egypt and others of Israel's neighbors. Many of my Israeli friends didn't like that.
Yes, clearly, Richard Nixon was a disgraced, impeached president here in the United States. I understand that completely. However, during his time when he was in office, I have to add these pieces to add some more clarifications and context on how we went from AIPAC then to AIPAC today, and how that heavily influences Benjamin Netanyahu's agenda, and while he's using our coffers and our military bodies to reach his agenda. We have to look at these things from the other perspectives as well. You're going to hear another video a recording between Nixon and Billy Graham as well, that's going to explain just a little bit more. Please excuse that there may sound like there is some very archaic language in here, and trust me, I'm not supporting that, but I do want us to listen to this recording as well.
Well, makes a distinction, Mr. President, between two groups of Jews. One is called the synagogue of Satan. There are two different kinds. There are those people in the latter days, it's called the remnant of God's people, which will be Jewish people. And then there's the synagogue of Satan. And nearly all of your religious deceptions in the latter days, what the Bible speaks, latter days to be 1,000 years, are what they call the synagogue of Satan. In other words, they are energized by a supernatural power called the devil. This is what the Bible teaches, whether you believe it or don't believe it. This is the biblical teaching, and this is what I believe. And I believe that they have a strange brilliance about them. They're smart, and they are energized, in my judgment, by a supernatural power.
Well, also they do something else. They're not smart.
And you see, of course, Hitler didn't. They had a stranglehold on Germany, on the banking of Germany, on everything in Germany, and the media. They had the whole thing, you see. But he went about it wrong. But this stranglehold has got to be broken, or this country is going to go down the drain. Yes, sir.
Now let's see how quickly the tide has turned with today's political leaders, and how money has influenced even their own personal walk with Christ, and how they're willing to lead an entire nation that was built upon the faith of Jesus Christ. Remind you, the Word of God explicitly states that if any man comes to you with another doctrine, he is to be a curse to you. Okay? And that is what our now political leaders are doing. They are now reforming their roles as just elected political leaders. And this is where you have to go into the biblical text and read for yourself. And you have to ask God to help you to understand the literal and spiritual meaning of his text, so that you're able to apply it to your reality, to your politics, to your economy. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 12, this is the King James Version, "Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, and unto a land that I will show thee, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed," and so on and so forth. So let's go back to chapter 12 verse 2. "And I will make of thee a great nation." He didn't say that I'm going to make a plot of land a great nation. He said, I'm going to make you a great nation, Abram. You. I'm going to make your example of your life and your example of how you worship and obey me and trust me. I'm going to make you a great nation, because no matter where I send you, you're going to be a representation of who I am. And that is why it is so important to rightly divide the word of truth, being not ashamed of the gospel, rightly dividing the word of truth. Understanding what you are expounding on in front of a nation of people that are looking towards you for assistance, guidance, insight, because we're in a hopeless generation at this moment. There's a lot of people that are losing hope in our government because they know that it's done away with. And so they're grasping for straws. And whatever these political leaders are saying, they're going to take a hold to it. And i.e. the evangelicals. I'm going to do a whole deep dive on evangelicals, okay? Trust me, that's coming. But let's listen now on how deceptive these political leaders can twist the word of God and then intercept it in with terms that they know you're not really familiar with unless you've worked in government or you've worked in military. But he said something really important at the end, and that's Mossad. Mossad is not something that is a great thing. Mossad is a very dangerous group of people that's like espionage, interintelligence within the Israeli government that was working between both the United States and their state. And let me tell you what came about with the Mossad, 9/11. Now let's dig deeper into this video.
Those who hate Israel hate America. Those who hate Jews hate Christians. There is a reason the Ayatollah refers to Israel as the little Satan and America as the great Satan. Every year, the United States provides roughly $3 billion in military assistance to Israel. The benefit we get from that, the Mossad.
The #1 intelligence agency in the world, what the CIA is to us, this is their version.
We have an incredible array of possibilities of creating foreign companies that have no way being traced back to Israel. Shell companies over shell companies who affect the supply chain to our favor. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
And he's not even exaggerating. They are a global production company and the world is their stage. And they brag about it. They are the tip of the pyramid, the prime mover. They move everything behind the scenes, and everything is to be slanted in their favor. The global supply chain, economies, governments, and even revolutions, all in the end get slanted into their favor. They have a finger in every pot. Their motto, through deception, wage war. Have your enemies go against your enemies. Give people the illusion of freedom, the illusion of choice, and the illusion of their own leaders. But in the end, everything is nudged to their influence.
The Mossad has a slogan, which is the anthem of the Mossad, if you want to call it. It's a biblical term. It says, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. And that's what's on the logo of the Mossad. What does the Mossad do to the United States? The Mossad regards the U.S. What does the Mossad do to the United States? The Mossad regards the U.S. as its own playing ground, as a tool to an end, saying, you guys make nice arms that we can use. You guys have things that we want, therefore we want to take it. Now, you can't blame the Mossad for everything. I mean, you have to blame your own government. I mean, as far as your government is concerned, what you are is like one of those cash machines to the world. No limit. Big sale. They're selling out whatever they want. So you can't really blame countries for coming in and taking. I mean, you're saying, here it is, take it. These countries need it. What do you expect? I've been trained by Mossad, and I feel that nobody can hurt me. I do this in a way because I know that they can't touch me.
יהיה כבד מנשוא, כרגע המחיר לא כבד מנשוא. התקפה רבת היקף על הרשות הפלסטינית. תביא לפחד שהכל מתמוטט.
לא פוחדים, צוחקים להם, יראו לנו לתוך הישרת פה בצחוק ופשוט הם לא פוחדים.
זה מה שמביא אותם
רגע, אבל אז שוב פעם העולם יגיד מה, אתם פורשים? אתה לא מפחד מהעולם, ביבי.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אני יודע מה זה אמריקה. אמריקה זה לא שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, להזיז לכיוון הנכון. אבל לא יכניעו לנו.
אם אנחנו עושים לזה משהו, אז הם...
יש עליה, אז נניח שהם אומרים משהו. 80% מהאמריקאים תומכים בנו. זה אבסורד. לא פחדתי להתאבד שם. לא פחדתי להתאבד עם קלינטון. לא פחדתי להתאבד עם אובמה.
Well, former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu predicted something very close to this could happen in his 1995 book, Fighting Terrorism, subtitled How Democracies Can Defeat Domestic and International Terrorists. He wrote of the terrorist networks, quote, such groups nullify in large measure the need to have air power or intercontinental missiles as delivery systems. For an Islamic nuclear payload, they will be the delivery system. In the worst of such scenarios, he added, the consequences could not be a car bomb, but a nuclear bomb in the basement of the World Trade Center. Benjamin Netanyahu joins us now live from Jerusalem. Mr. Netanyahu, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, this was not a nuclear bomb in the basement, but it destroyed the World Trade Center just as certainly as if it were. Give us, if you will, your thoughts about these terrorist networks and what kind of action the United States, how the United States should regard them and what kind of action the United States should take.
Bombing of the United States on September. The most important thing is to be clear on the conceptions and principles that have to guide us in the great and crucial war that lies ahead.
The Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv has reported Israel's former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly said the September 11th attacks have been good for Israel.
These cells across the Hudson River, and they got on the, this is the report, I emphasize, I don't know this for a fact, but there's several witnesses who say this happened. They got on the roof of the building to look across. They knew what was going to happen. They were waiting for it to happen, and when it happened, they celebrated.
FBI reports confirmed that the men were not taking somber pictures of a horrific event. When their 76 pictures were developed, they revealed the men had indeed been celebrating, smiling, hugging each other, and high-fiving. One of the pictures even featured Sivan Kurzberg holding a lighter up with the burning tower in the background. And these were no ordinary tourists. Their purpose was to document the event? But how could they possibly have known what event they were documenting at that point? Before the second plane strike, when those few who even knew about the situation had assumed it to be an accident or pilot error. How could they have been in place and ready to document the event unless they knew what was about to happen? They were immediately transferred to federal custody, held for 71 days, and then deported back to Israel. Rather than making Israel enemy number one in the war on terror, Israel remains to this day the U.S.'s most important ally.
The criminal trial against Benjamin Netanyahu started 5.5 years ago, and it's still going on now. He's accused of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. Now he's asking for it to be shut down, for him to receive a pardon before he's even been convicted. It's an unprecedented request. Netanyahu says his trial is dividing the country and hindering him from leading the nation.
While you were out celebrating New Year's, Netanyahu was in Florida paying off your Christian pastors. Yes, once again, I'm here to report to you guys that Christianity is under assault. He was sitting down with Christian pastors across multiple churches. Now, there's a video that surfaced right before that of somebody in Israel bragging about how they're going to get 100,000 Christians to support their cause.
We are going to train 100,000 Christian ambassadors to be ambassadors in their own country for the state of Israel, to defend Israel's brand.
And whenever I say support their cause, I actually mean spread propaganda across the West.
Christian leaders are calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop a bill proposed by members of his coalition to make it criminal to tell people about Jesus in Israel.
Story just before, days before Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter. Sacred time for Christians. Two ultra-Orthodox members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition have introduced a bill that would punish believers for sharing the gospel of Jesus with prison time. United Torah Judaism Knesset members Moshe Gafni And Yaakov Asher introduced legislation last week making it illegal to share in conversation or produce content online, in print, or by mail. Their explanation of the bill emphasizes a warning to stop Christians in particular.
It is time to wake up, people. This is a real tweet. I checked. A quote-unquote American commentator advocating that the U.S. change their constitution so that Netanyahu can become president. This is the next step. But to do that, you need something to control the hearts and minds of Americans.
And I know it's difficult to hear, but it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it, and quickly before it's too late.
What do you mean?
I mean that we need to control the platforms, all the social platforms. We need to stack rank the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves online, and take control over what they are saying based on that ranking.
The government.
The government should
control the social media.
Say this clearly and without interruption. Israel's war stopped being on Hamas a long time ago. Israel's war is on the American First Amendment. Israel's biggest threat to its existence is free speech and people being exposed to the factual evidence of the war crimes that Israel is committing in real time. And that is why every time information is being freely shared about Israel's war crimes, the first immediate action that pro-Israel forces do in America is try to take ownership of that media. We see that happen with CBS. Just a week ago, Ben Shapiro was at a conference where he was openly bragging and thanking the capture of CBS by a pro-Zionist owner. Right now, as we speak, TikTok is in an ongoing deal to be owned by some of the most Zionist pro-Israel voices that the country has. And even your own leader, Netanyahu, was talking to a room of influencers calling TikTok the new weapon of war, and that he is so excited and can't wait for TikTok to transfer ownership to American owners so that they can censor people even more.
May God bless America, and may God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for your continued support. Please like, share, and think about subscribing. I hope you have a great one.